Up next is a fireside chat on the journey of MRVR, Games for Rehabilitation. It's our pleasure to welcome Faris Hanapia, Creative Director of EDT, Experiential Design Team, and Associate Professor Dr. Fazah Akhtar Hanapia, President of Daihan Rehabilitation Hospital, Putrajaya, for this sharing session.
Right, good morning, everyone. So today I'm with myself. My name is Faris. I'm from Mosho/EDT. We do a lot of AR and VR works, and today we are with my sister / Dr. Fazah. Hello, Dr. Fazah. How are you?
Hi. Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
So let's start off with the first question. Probably you want to introduce yourself a little bit.
Sure. Thanks, Faris. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I'll begin with a greeting in Korea. 안녕하세요. Primarily because I'm affiliated with two organizations at the moment. My background is that I am a consultant rehabilitation physician, and that is a medical doctor that specializes in rehabilitation medicine. I'm affiliated with the Faculty of Medicine UITM, and there I am an associate professor of rehabilitation medicine. With the recent collaboration or partnership between the government and the private industry, I've been seconded to a private hospital in Putrajaya called Daihan Rehabilitation Hospital. So this is a Korean-based rehab hospital. It's a standalone rehab hospital. And I'm part of a team that's building up Southeast Asia's largest standalone rehab hospital. So basically, I've been working in rehab medicine for over 16 years. I've been a doctor for over 25 years. And my interest is in finding new ways of managing people with disabilities. So that is part of my passion, and I enjoy doing lots of research, supervising postgraduate students, and also incorporating what we find through research in our daily practices in rehab medicine. So that's a little bit about my background. I'm sure everybody wants to know a little bit more about Faris, my younger brother. Faris, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I started Mosho Fixo about 13 years ago with my other partners, Sham and Idril. And we started doing a lot of works with advertising agencies, doing post-production work, motion graphics, 3D works and all that. And then 5 years down the road, I started finding new ways to produce content. And we started going into interaction design, where we start to do stuff like projection mapping, interactive projection mapping. And we do a lot of on-ground events back then. And moving forward, we thought that, life is all about answering briefs. And we thought that we should be doing something a little bit more with our expertise. And we found out about AR and VR. And good thing about my team is that they are always open for new things. So we did quick research in development on producing our own AR and VR stuff. So we thought that, this could be the next big thing. But we still haven't found anything to really work on yet at the moment. So the market's really small for those things. I think that would lead towards why we started doing MRVR. And I would say that would be a segue to our next question, is that what is MRVR in your words, Dr. Fazah? Probably you can start first and then I'll add in later. Yep.
Sure. So I have to thank Faris and his team from Mosho Fixo for spearheading and giving us the expertise behind the virtual reality component of developing MRVR, or medical rehabilitation virtual reality. A few years ago, I was involved with supervising a postgraduate student from the faculty of FSKM, Faculty Science, Computer and Mathematics.
Right,
So that's the Malay version of it, FSKM. So we were looking into serious games at that time. So it was very, very much on a laptop, and having patients with stroke come in, and these patients had impairment, which is called neglect. So it's commonly seen, very difficult to address when a patient has neglect after stroke. It means that not only can they not move that side of the body, but they also ignore that side of the body. So part of the rehabilitation that goes along with it is to make sure that the brain wakes up to acknowledge that part of the body still exists. So the serious game that we came up with was quite simple, and she programmed a screen that had a lot of stimuli coming from the neglected side. And we found a lot of improvement in our patients when they did this. But again, with a desire to make things a little bit more exciting, because at that point, patients were saying, yes, I'm seeing it, I'm doing it, but there is something still missing. There's something that is losing the engagement. What else can we do to improve it? So I went to a recent seminar that said, with learning, there was a lot of component towards it, and rehabilitation, one of the biggest component is that learning aspect, and that learning helps with the recovery and the neuroplasticity of the brain. And one thing that caught my attention was that you learn better in a 3D environment. And we see this, especially with the recent COVID, everybody's online and doing teaching through your computer, but it isn't the same if you're actually in a classroom setting, right? And part of that is that interaction and the 3D involvement. There's some depth to the vision that you have through learning. So this is where the idea of interacting with Faris and his team, because every Sunday, our family, we tend to come together for our Sunday morning Sunday breakfast. Nasi lemak and high-end coffee. Faris makes fantastic coffee.
I'm the barista for that one, yeah.
Barista Faris.
Barista.
Farista, yeah. So he makes fantastic coffee, and this is where all the ideas come about. Just sitting around the table, and all of us as siblings, we talk about how our week was, and Faris was telling about all his projects, and I was telling about all the things that was happening at the faculty, confined to the confidentiality of the patients, but we were just talking about how things were, and it just clicked. Faris says, look, I've got a solution for you. And I said, I've got a problem for you to find a solution too. So this is where medical rehabilitation, virtual reality came up. Because if you look into the market, virtual reality is already out there, very much part of the gaming world. We tried it with our patients, but we could not focus it to the needs of the patients with disability. So I turned to Faris and said, Faris, help us out, And Faris says, look, I've got a solution for you. And this is where it began. Maybe Faris can tell us a little bit about how he got his team involved in this project as well.
So going back to my team, so we've been answering briefs from clients, and at one point it got a little bit boring. So when firstly my team heard about this idea of doing VR content that could help people heal better, it sparked a little bit more of a joy when they listened to that, because they understand there's a little bit more of a, I would say a good use VR for good, right? So they understand that need when it comes to that. So everyone was on board, no question asked. They started creating, modules like, I was getting brief from Dr. Faza in terms of, okay, how would we imagine our first module would look like? So we were looking at simple things like, getting a patient to lift things up or touching, a musical instrument at one point, and be able to adjust that on a virtual world. So we started off with very basic module. So we got our team to do that, and we presented that out to Dr. Faza, and it is something that, hey, she thought that is something that we can definitely develop from there. And then we started basically create like a proper team to focus on creating these modules. And so I would say that will go to the next question. how long did it took for us to build the first prototype for MRVR? And what was the collaboration process between the two of you? So I'll start first. Basically, we need to see what the needs of the patients are. Commonly, what would a series of patients need in terms of their physical movement, and what sort of virtual environment can we design to address that? So that brief came from Dr. Faza, and we came to the initial module within, I think, about a month plus, and then Dr. Faza had a few of their research team got involved as well, and to look into it, and we do a little bit of iteration, and we haven't gone into patient testing yet, right? That time?
At that time, no.
Yeah. So and then we were looking for patient to test out. So I mean, first round is just to get things right. Nothing much on iteration until we got to our first patient testing. Yeah, so that was about a month and a half or 2 months. And then maybe Dr. Faza, you want to talk a little bit more on how we got our first patient to be tested out?
Sure. So because this is still under a research, and medical research using real patients has its protocols.
Yep.
So it wasn't just jumping into doing it and testing it on patient. We had to look into the pros and cons and safety as well. So this is where the ethical, our research ethics committee from the university came in. We had to apply for that first before we tested this on patients. So prior to that, it was just, we were doing the test beds. We were doing the evaluation on ourselves just to make sure that, okay, this might work, this doesn't work. The environment, the virtual environment is missing when I'm turning from left to right. So these are the things that we tried to make sure that doesn't happen on the patient when we first try it on them. So once we have got the research ethics committee approval to try it on the patients, there is a lot of process towards it. We have to make sure that the protocol is sound. We had a specific goal and purpose, so it wasn't just like try and see. We had to have a specific purpose, and we had to have people around that were specialized in caring for patients, and also the technical team. So we had all that in place, and there was no concerns from the ethics committee to say that this is something that is not ethical to conduct on patients. So once we had that, only then we looked at recruiting. So the first patient had to fit in all our inclusion and exclusion criteria. So it just makes me, why do go through all this? But again, patient safety comes first.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at patient criteria, we looked at our database in UiTM and the Faculty of Medicine, and we found a very good case, quite a recent stroke individual that did not have any comorbidities such as epilepsy that may react to the light that we're going to be emitting from the headset. He had a relatively good cognitive function that can follow instructions, but he was considered elderly. He was a person that had retired, and we have not yet tried it on somebody in the age group, because amongst us we were quite young and relatively young. and we were quite open to technology and trying new things. But how is it with these the population of those that the age group about 55 or so, for example? So that was one of our main concerns about the acceptability of this technology to the focus group that we were taking this treatment to. And we know that stroke, even though a lot of them can happen in younger age group nowadays, but we do still get a number in the older age group. So surprisingly, we introduced the device. Faris explained this device to the patient. We introduced the device to the rehabilitation team so that the physiotherapists, occupational therapists knew about it as well. There was some, can this really work? So there was a lot of question marks within the team, within ourselves. I wouldn't say they were afraid, but they were a bit skeptical about what the outcome would be, because this is something new, and because it hasn't been shown yet in good research areas that this works. And that is why I'm very proud of our team, because we are considered as pioneers in developing MRVR and trying it out and doing clinical studies. Not very many centers in the world that is actually at the stage as where we are now. So our main concern was that, one, can it be accepted by the patient? Can be accepted by the rehabilitation fraternity? And what would the outcome be? And maybe Faris, you might want to explain how, your group that is not medically trained got involved with this, and what were your perceptions in dealing with patients with the medical team?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of challenges on our side to actually understand some of the terminologies. But I think how we look into the process of mapping out the areas of the body, I think that's one of the ways that we could address, how we want to design the activities that are being done in the virtual world. So usually VR has they have these two controllers, so we can actually use their hands to, and I think the first setup was using a Vive setup, HTC Vive setup. So you can actually move around a certain space. So you can also use that spatial area to actually move around. So you can define different goals based on the areas that we want to address. So I mean, early on, there's definitely a lot of mistakes that we made. But with the help of Dr. Faza, we tend to understand what the goals are, and we keep updating the modules and send it out to UITM. I think, you guys have also this similar setup in your space in UITM, Faculty of Medicine UITM. So it's really easy for us to transfer our modules. So we have exactly the same mirror of the setup. So yeah, I think definitely for us, we have never heard some of the terminologies, but it's really an exciting journey for us. And I would say that would address the fifth question, was the challenges. I think Dr. Faza addressed that. And for our side, challenges is one, understanding the whole terminology on things. And also in terms of the hardware side, definitely during the early days, there are some limitation of the hardware. When you talk about a headset, which is tethered, so you can't really move in a really big space unless you have a big space and also a really long cable. Other than that is the performances of the hardware itself. I mean, as nowadays, I think we are there, but previously you need to have like a really good gaming PC to make sure the frame rate is at least at 60 frames per second and above. Anything lower than that, I think even for us non-patient also we will probably get dizzy. But we need to make sure that it is above 60 frames per second to make sure everything runs smoothly at the fundamental basis. So that would be on the optimization of the content and also the hardware performance as well. So those are some of the challenges that we've addressed early on. Yeah.
The other challenge that I'd like to bring forward here is finances.
Yes.
I got a small grant from the faculty, just enough to buy the hardware, and I have to thank the faculty for allowing me to have a dedicated area. So we built up our own virtual reality clinical lab. Where we bring our patients in, and so it is nice. Now, without the support of the university, I don't think we would have gotten this far either.
Yeah.
But we could get a lot further if we have, bigger financial supporters out there. Because at the moment, the finances that we have is enough to buy a small number of devices, and also we are using what manpower we have at the university. So it's not dedicated team. These are the same people that has to teach, the same people that has to attend clinics, the same people that has to attend patients in the hospital, and the same people that has to do the research. And same goes with the therapist. These are the same therapists that has to attend to all the patient needs at the hospital and the clinic, and they have to attend to the clinical research bit as well. But nevertheless, we have started our clinical study, and we have minus what happened with the COVID, we had to actually stop for a little while, but we've already got 16 patients recruited and they have completed the protocol, the 8-week protocol. So it's an exciting time for us to, we'll be having some of the results published in the very near future. But so far what we have seen is very promising. One is with the acceptance. A lot of the patients, my goodness, we would not think that these are the people that would take on gaming like they've been doing it for the last 50, 60 years. They put it on, we explain to them, they get immersed in the environment. It's exciting for us to see. And they get so engaged that they keep asking, can I come again? I said, no, the protocol is that you come only once a week and we have to follow the clinical protocol. But they do want to come more often. So I'm hoping that with these interest and the engagement that we have from the patients, that we get the same amount of enthusiasm from the authorities that can help propel this project and make it not only just at a research basis, but it becomes a standard where we can give this opportunity to a lot of patients out there that requires this sort of treatment.
Yeah. I think that really shows, especially after we've got our fair share of media presence last year, when DG actually used our story as a part of their Raya campaign. And we had Cik Mazin, which is one of our favorite patients.
Our star patient, yeah.
Yes. So he actually tested out MRVR, and I think the period that he used, I think about 3 months.
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah,
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Yeah, and the improvement was really, really good. He actually healed. I think in terms of the performance of how he adapted, VR was really surprisingly positive. And at a man of his age, wanting to try out new things like a VR is also very surprising for me. But I think at the end of the day, it's their motivation to actually try new things. I think for them, having a new experience in terms of, rather than just seeing a normal physio routines, seeing a VR could definitely increase their motivation trying new things. And that's a good thing about VR. I would say VR allows you to create new environments with just a single device. I mean, this week you will be seeing a certain thing, and the next you will be seeing different thing by using the same device in comparison to, a machine or a tool that you place in your facility that is rigged with a specific set of rule and playbook, right? So with the VR, you can actually change it. It's a dynamic content, and it will definitely get patients excited to see new ways for them to actually use it and heal much faster from there. I think that would lead to the next question. Probably you want to add up more on your experiences with Encik Mazin. I think you're much closer to him. You have stories to tell.
Yes, yeah. So Encik Mazin would be approximately just over a year post-stroke. And we have actually discharged him from our care at UITM because he has regained all his function.
Right.
This is an amazing gentleman, I would have to say, and he has fantastic family support as well. In fact, one of his daughters getting married this weekend, so I wish all the best. So we do still keep in touch, and he sends me text stating how he is, and so in a sense of function, he has recovered. He's gone back to his workshop. He's fine hand movement, and this is part of that virtual reality training that we incorporated, and Faris had made a lot of activities within this enriched environment that can translate into hand therapy, which our occupational therapists have been working on him. But when you put it into an enriched environment with goals, we found that the recovery was a lot faster.
Yeah.
So he's gone back to his workshop, he's gone back to his driving, he's gone back to his activities of daily living, he's gone back to his local surau, he does his prayers there, and he no longer has to sit on a chair to do his prayers, and this is exactly what he wanted, and these goals were all achieved within this period of time that he was receiving rehabilitation. Now, I'm not going to say that everything that he achieved was due to MRVR, but MRVR played a big component in that recovery process. And I wish that we could give this to a lot more patients. Because we see it. I know the evidence is there with the patients that we've gone and then the testing with. But I understand that, a lot of things require medical evidence, and this is what we're collecting now.
Yeah. So I think the next question would be, what would be the next step for MRVR? Dr. Faza, do you have anything to add to that?
Oh, wow. Okay. The vision,
Yes.
the mission.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have high hopes for MRVR. Things are changing in this world, and we find that it can be quite frustrating, when we don't get to give the best. We know it is out there, but we just can't deliver it, either due to inaccessibility, unavailability of the technology, either through finances or through the human resources that are not well equipped or taught about the skills. These are all the things that are limiting us in our current practices now. Okay, I have to say finances is always an issue. But MRVR is actually a solution to that, because when we look back at our infrastructure, say that we needed to make a multi-sensory environment for a patient in a hospital that is fixed, solid, and would cost minimum, 150,000 ringgit for that basic minimum needs. You can actually translate that all into virtual reality. And that's exactly what we've done in our first module, a multi-sensory environment.
Yeah.
And it served the same purpose, So for those patients that can wear the headsets, they don't become flustered or having some headpiece on their head. It can serve like a normal multi-sensory room that would have costed the hospital 150,000 ringgit, by which we could have done it quite cheaply with our MRVR, and the HTC Vive or the Oculus is now available in the market at a very cheap price, because it's available for anybody to use, but we just have to make sure that the modules are medically inclined. So my hopes is that we can make more modules to create more environment, to give it to as many patients as possible, to make it available in all the hospitals in Malaysia to start off with, and let Malaysia be the pioneer, the driving force of this MRVR technology in the world, because at the moment we are leading in that sense. Not very many centers are doing clinical studies. This is the time to get into it, because if we don't move at a fast rate, people will start catching up, which is great.
True.
Which is great, we want to share this technology, but we are already at the forefront. Let's continue the pace.
Right. Yeah, and for us as well, in terms of technology-wise, you mentioned about Oculus Quest, and these days you don't need to have everything tested already, so everything is pre-built within the headset, and the performance is almost the same. I mean, you don't have to have photorealistic environment being processed in that very small system. So Oculus Quest actually serves a big purpose in terms of making it accessible to more people. So I would imagine one day, patients from all over Malaysia would have their own Oculus Quest at home, and modules being sent out wirelessly through 5G, through high-speed internet connection, and doctors and physicians could monitor their performances. We are actually moving towards that, and some of our modules will making it multiplayerable, so the doctors and the physician could be in the same space. They could also wear the headset, and they could also be at the same space and directing the patient what to do, right? And I think that is the future that we're looking at. Accessibility. Some patients are really far physically from the centers. Some of the treatment can be remotely executed, perhaps, right? So yeah, we just need to have these supports to make sure that we are able to reach the goal. So it's going to be really exciting for both of us. Yeah.
And it's fantastic to see that the platform is also building up, and the good that we're getting out of the MCO experience is that all these platforms are now are developing a lot faster to accommodate for what we have been trying to do in the last few years, and to make that remotely accessible. And if you can immerse a patient somewhere as far away as Kedah, and I can be in my hospital in either Sungai Buloh or in Putrajaya, I can immerse myself in the same environment that the patient is in Kedah. No longer is distance an issue, yeah. And we can have as many people in there engaging at the same time as well. True. So I can foresee that this is going to improve the outcome of patient. There's nothing that will hinder this other than good. You will not get anything bad out of it. We're improving patient functionality, we're improving their rehabilitation program, and we're making sure that these patients are following a program that is tailor-made for them, and that there is supervision. It's not good that we just give the modules, okay, you're on your own, you do as much as you can. That isn't the way how rehab medicine works. It's actually modulated and supervised, and you challenge them as the patient increases in terms of function. And that requires a specialized team to do that.
Cool. So yeah, that will lead to our last question. There's a bonus question here. It says here, it's quite rare to have siblings from vastly different fields to collaborate on a game project like this. Can you share any experience or moments growing up together that relates to playing games as kids? I don't know. Does this take back during our days in the 90s when Ayah bought that PC? I think it's a 486 DX2 processor.
That was a long time ago. ZX81? Oh no, you weren't born yet at that time.
No, not 81. And we had Macintosh, Apple early on. Yeah. And there's a few games there. I think you're into games as well.
I am.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And during the PC days, I think there was this
Commodore 64.
Commodore 64. Okay, that's way back.
Way back.
Way back. I didn't touch that. That's way back. I think I think both of us had experiences with games, but we kind of like in a different sort of
era.
But yeah, it is something that we really enjoy all throughout PC times, and then we had PlayStation times, and then we went on from there. But playing together, I don't think we. No, I don't think it overlapped.
It's because the age gap between myself and Faris is quite large. I remember him as a baby, and we took care of him as a baby. That's how far we are in terms of age. But growing up, we were a very close-knit family. And even though there was a part in our lives that we were separated for a long time, because when our parents came back to Malaysia, the four siblings, the older ones, had to stay back and finish our studies. So I think that separation also served to bring us closer together in a way, because back in those days there wasn't internet, there wasn't. It was all writing and telephone calls. But when we did get back together over the summer holidays, it was a very close knit, and we spent just about every day together. Precious moments.
I used to get really excited when Dr. Fazal is about to come home from from the
From
studies.
studies, yeah.
Yeah, summer breaks and all that. Yeah. So yeah.
But we have to thank Ayah. We have to thank Ayah because he has always been a visionary in terms of technology.
Yeah.
You know, when people were not thinking about computers, he was already giving us computers and training. And I think the geekiest computer guy in the family would be our eldest brother.
Eldest brother, yeah. That would be it. Yeah.
We're not geeky. We're actually cool
Yeah,
about
no,
these
which
things.
is fine. I mean, we're there in the middle. Nice. Okay, so I think that would sum it up for us for this fire chat session. I would say thank you, and hopefully we can take MRVR to the next level in the next few months. Probably exciting things gonna happen, and we're gonna set up our own website where you can check our progress. It's gonna be getmrvr.com. So any updates you can actually see from there. And I think that's it. Thank you very much, Dr. Faza.
Thank you, Faris. And just one last note, if anybody out there is interested in collaborating with us, by all means, we're very much open to collaboration.
Yes.
Just get in touch with us. I think we will have our contact details up after this. Or you just Google. You just Google. You just Google our names. We're very Googleable.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.